Hello and welcome to Wildly Curious, a podcast that tells you everything you need to know about nature and probably more than you wanted to know. I'm Laura.
And I'm Katy. And today we are going to be talking about sleep. Sleep is the invisible force that powers every aspect of life. Because it does, or at least it should.
Yeah, as we record this at 9:45 Eastern Time.
So Laura and I are going to divide this up. She's going to talk about what happens when we sleep, and we're going to really try not to make this boring. No, we never make anything boring.
No, this is a heavier science one, but it's still going to be good.
Yeah, and then, so Laura's going to talk about what happens in the brain when we sleep. I'm going to talk about why do we dream. Laura's going to talk about impacts of sleep deprivation, and then I, for some reason, am going to talk about tips and tricks for better sleep and why it matters, because I'm the last. I had to do research. I know what I should do.
Well, right, or for me with like sleep deprivation, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's
this
like,
is a warning for me.
Sure, this is, right? All right, well, I do have some nature news that was coming out of, let's see here, sciencenews.org. We have some good news kind of good news. I guess this is a double-edged sword. So our koalas friends, if you guys haven't listened to that episode about how we talk about why animals should be extinct, koalas are definitely one of them that should be extinct because of everything.
Yeah.
They only eat a few species out of the whatever hundreds of species of different eucalyptus. They can literally only eat, or they can only eat about 20. They prefer 2 or 3. Just as much as eucalyptus is poisonous to everything else, it's poisonous to a koala. Their pouch is upside down because they used to be burrowing.
They
and then
live
now
on
they're
exploding
arboreal.
trees.
Yeah, the eucalyptus oil itself explodes. They just live on a grenade.
And they all have chlamydia.
Yeah. Well, speaking of chlamydia.
Oh, good.
But this is where the double-edged sword comes from, because scientists have recently found out that there's a population in Sydney that the chlamydia level is actually very low. And so they were like, oh, that's interesting. Like, why is it so low here? Turns out it's because they're all basically inbred.
Oh.
So, yeah, so it's like, okay, so yes, their isolation has isolated them against chlamydia. So they were like, oh, fantastic. Why does this population of koalas not have chlamydia? Because if you guys don't know, about over 90% of the koalas in Australia have chlamydia. And honestly, chlamydia for koalas really isn't that dangerous until they're stressed out. If you're living on a grenade, or your baby's falling out of your pouch, or everything you eat is poison, then your life tends to be a little more stressed. So anyway, so they found that, what's interesting about this population, that it doesn't have chlamydia, it's because it's inbred. So they're starting to then bring in koalas from other regions that could enhance the genetic diversity.
But now they all have chlamydia.
But now that heightens the risk of chlamydia because it's an STD. And so, so again, kind of a double-edged sword there for our poor koalas. And if you don't know, the side effects, whenever it does start to affect koalas, the side effects are infertility, blindness, and death. So
no big deal.
No big deal. Yeah. Considering it really, now listen, again.
I mean, I feel like that's also the risks of inbreeding, so.
No, right? Exactly, yeah. So it's, again, double-edged sword. So scientists were really excited at first, and then they're like, oh, cool, this population doesn't really have chlamydia. And then they're like, wait a minute, it's because they're inbred. So yeah, on that note, dreaming, sex,
transition to
sleep.
Chlamydia? Yeah.
Laura, you normally always have a really good transition.
Good one. Inbreeding. No. I actually don't even really want to touch it. Even if I could make one, it'd probably be a mistake.
Yeah, right. All right. So like we said, we're going to divide this up. So Laura's going to start first with about what's going on in the brain whenever you're sleeping. And then I'm going to be talking about dreaming.
Cool. Yeah, like always, especially with the science ones, I always learn doing this podcast. But I did learn a lot for this one. I'm so sorry, everyone. As we talk about sleep, I'm going to keep yawning because I have sleep deprivation. Well, fun fact, sleeping takes up to 1/3 to 1/4 of a human lifespan. So if that's not a little bit depressing, I feel like that's why I fight sleep, because I don't want to waste it further. Or not waste, but it just seems like a lot.
Yeah, it does seem like a lot. I wonder if they would, like, that statistic for the average person.
Well, because if you're sleeping
ADHD
8 hours.
People really...
Yeah.
Yeah. I never get 8 hours. First of all, again, I'm one of those people that, like, my peak, if I hit 8 hours, it's too much. Like I'm too drowsy. For me, 7 hours. But again, I still hit those insomnia spells with my ADHD and stuff every once in a while, where I go like 50 something days was my longest streak. And that was as little as 40 minutes a night and no more than 4 hours a night. So yeah.
That's
again,
crazy.
I'm not the one that should be talking about tips and tricks. Continue.
Well, what happens when we sleep? I mean, yeah, of course, we all know, like, individually, sure, what happens when we sleep? We rest and we dream. But what's actually going on in your brain? It's pretty interesting. But basically everything in your body, it all comes down to neurotransmitters having a lot with you getting tired and feeling tired and then falling asleep. So when you transition between sleep and wake, or waking and sleeping, there's a whole bunch of different brain structures going on. I'm not going to go into each one and what they're doing. I'm just saying the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, the amygdala, the thalamus, the reticular formation, and the pons. We've talked about brain structures in the past. You can always go back and
I'll hit on some of those a little bit too.
Yeah, those are just some things that are helping with the onset of sleep, the memory stuff, all that thing. So once you've actually starting to fall asleep, you're going to go through cycles. There are a couple different stages of sleep. There's two main differences. There's non-REM sleep and REM sleep. First comes non-REM, and REM means rapid eye movement. So this is before any of that happens. So within non-REM sleep, there are 3 stages. First one, light sleep. That's just the 5% of what, like, it's only a few minutes. It's that twitchy state, you know what I mean? Where you're just falling asleep and you think of something else. I specifically remember once where I was just thinking about crossing a stream and slipping, and then my leg like twitched. You're just in this weird, you can wake yourself up real easy. And you only spend about 5% of your time sleeping in this state. It's just a few minutes. Then you transition into deeper sleep. This is about 45% of your sleep. This is where you spend the majority of your time.
Sorry, I'm looking at my Garmin watch, which tracks my sleep, and it does track like how much I spend in each one.
Yeah,
it's not good. It's not. First of all, my scores are always horrible. But how long did you say you should stay in light sleep?
Well, light sleep is just 5% of the time, so it's just a few minutes.
Okay, well, you say that. However, on an average night, I spend about 6 hours in light sleep.
I don't even know how that's possible. Unless your watch is jacked.
No, it's accurate. This is why I have such crappy. This contributes to a lot of other stuff. So you do need good sleep.
Well, and then so you go into deeper sleep, which is where you should be spending, or most people spend about 45% of it.
You're gonna correct it every time. You're like, well, most people.
This is when your body temperature starts to lower, your heart rate and your breathing start to regulate. And this is basically when they're doing sleep studies and they're looking at your brain, the only way to know that this is going on. So this might be where your watch gets complicated, because the only way to actually know that this state is happening is because in the brain, it's characterized by sleep spindles, which are short but powerful bursts of neurons firing. So it's just like, psh, and then nothing, and then psh, and then nothing. And then there are also something called K complexes, which are these long brain waves, but they only last a second. Like they're like, so it's like a time where you're not deep asleep. You're just resting, and there's intermittent firing. This is, fun fact, this is where teeth grinding happens. So all of us teeth grinders, we're grinding in this stage, which I think is interesting.
So is that what they classify as N2?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Garmin classifies light sleep as N1 and N2.
Okay, there you go.
So out of 7 hours of sleep, whatever, a night, the vast majority of my sleep is either in light or awake.
So N2s, this is where it gets longer every cycle of sleep. So when you sleep, you're going through cycles of stages, as confusing as that is. But N2 is where a lot of people spend most of their time. Then you go into N3, which is the deep sleep. That's about 25% of sleep time for normal people.
38 minutes.
Yeah. So slow delta waves. This is when you are just dead to the world. Your brain is just cruising. This is when it's hardest for you to be woken up. And you're mentally, and it's been proven that people who are woken up in this stage are mentally foggy for up to an hour, which for sure I've been woken up many times in this stage.
This is when I get like you wake me up in this stage and I am uncontrollably angry. And I make it sound bad, but it's like it takes me a bit to be like, oh, I just yelled at that I didn't mean to. It's just I come out of that like such deep and I'm like, wow. But
I'm not angry, but I am like, I'll have the spins sometimes from waking up during this. Like, I won't be able to stand up straight for a second. I have to hold on to the wall trying to get to the kids' room.
Like, I get mad, but it takes me a bit to be like, oh, I shouldn't be mad at this person. Yeah, like, I had to wake up for whatever reason, so.
Well, and what's interesting is that the older you are, the less time you spend here, and the more you go back to N2. So deep sleep is really, for the younger you are, the more time you spend here. But that makes sense because your body really is like working hard when you're a kid and a teenager and a young adult. And then, this is the time where your body is really doing what it needs to do when it sleeps, as far as repairing tissue, building bones and muscle, and strengthening your immune system. They think that this is the stage where the bad sleep stuff happens, like night terrors, bedwetting, and sleepwalking. Because your body isn't locked down yet, which is interesting. Like, that you are deeply asleep, but you are not paralyzed, okay? Like, you are in another stage or another cycle here. So you can still walk around, you can still, like, jerk awake, things like that. It's just really hard to be woken up. So all of those 3 stages there, the non-REM sleep, there is evidence that this may be the most important for memory and learning. So if you're not getting in the first 3 stages, then it's not good for your memory. And it's likely the most restful, right? Because the last stage you're going to go through is REM, and that's not exactly restful at all. It's rapid eye movement. So your body isn't actually resting almost. So it's good that the majority of your time, Katy, is spent in at least these 3. Because you're not dreaming, but you're, Okay, so once you've gone through the non-REM, then you enter REM, and that is the rapid eye movement. It's typically starts 90 minutes after falling asleep, roughly. I don't know where they're, from the sleep studies they've done on people. Yeah. Generally. And again, it takes about 25% of your sleeping time. Your eyes are moving quickly, which is why it's called this. But basically, your brain waves are similar to being awake. Your breathing and your heart rate increases. Like, basically, you're awake, except that your body is essentially paralyzed. It shuts down all of your motor neurons, which is pretty cool. Because otherwise, you'd be acting out all of these dreams. Katy's going to talk about later about dreaming. This is like when dreaming happens, and this is when arousal happens. And less time is spent in REM as you age. The older you get, the less you spend here. And the more you're going back to just the N2. You're just kind of in between. You're lightly sleeping. And so you're going to cycle through all of those 4 stages, spending less time in deep sleep and more time in REM as the night progresses. And usually you're going to loop through these stages 4 to 5 times. So go over and over and over. Your brain's just cycling through this. And then eventually most people wake up during a REM cycle. Which is why a lot of people remember their dreams, because that's just when your body naturally wakes up. Yeah. Because, again, you're so close to already being awake.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
So then one last thing. What are the processes that are happening during sleep? The purpose of sleep is highly debated. There is no certainty of why we sleep. There's nothing but theories. They're all very good theories. But they do know that some things are happening. They just don't know if this is the reason why we sleep. But these are things that are happening. Memories are built and stored. Your brain clears itself of toxins. Your heart and your muscles get to relax because they've been working so hard all day. Your immune system strengthens. Your metabolism regulates. And certain areas of the brain that regulate emotions are actually more active. So you're regulating yourself. Essentially, it's a reset, right? Like, your body gets a rest, and you get to just chill and start over the next day. And that's what happens when you sleep.
All right, I am going to then talk about why do we dream? So let's just talk about dreams in general.
Yeah,
and
because
this
I feel
is,
like
again,
why is, again, such like a subjective.
It is. It definitely is. So dreams, basically your brain movies where you're flying, your ex shows up to your childhood home, you're in high school again, the reason why you're a dolphin, all of that. It's just all kinds of craziness that happens. So it turns out that dreaming mostly, again, happens during the REM sleep when your brain is just, like Laura said, awake, but your body is paralyzed. And it's called REM atonia. And that's what keep you from flailing your way through the dream without like sword fighting and things, punching people and things like that.
Although that does sometimes happen, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely does. I'm a sleep talker.
Me
I'm
too.
not a sleep walker, thankfully. I know, shocking, right? We're both sleep talkers.
Yeah, right. Never shut up. I also, I have my mom, she used to, of course, check on us at night. I was not a sleepwalker, but I have acted out certain things. Like she saw me one time, it looked like I was picking berries.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, some of my infamous Katy talking in our sleep stories from my childhood was, so my sister and I shared a bed. We were 15 months apart. One was that I woke up in the middle of the night, was like, Carrie, turn on the light, like freaking her out. She's went over, turned on the light, and I'm like looking everywhere around my bed, and she's like, what is it? I'm like, where are the matches? She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, the matches. I need matches to show you a magic trick. And that was it. And she was like, go back to sleep. I was like, I need the matches.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey everyone, quick favor to ask. As some of you might have noticed, our YouTube channel recently got deleted, which is super frustrating, but we're back with a brand new channel and we need your help. If you've ever enjoyed an episode of Wildly Curious, we would love for you to subscribe to our new YouTube channel. It only takes a second, but it really, really helps us in getting things back up and running. We'll keep this reminder in the episodes for a little bit, but the sooner everyone listening hops over to subscribes, the faster we can rebuild and keep bringing you all the weird, wild, and wonderful science that Laura and I keep bringing you. So hit pause for 1 second, search the Wildly Curious podcast on YouTube, smash that subscribe button, and seriously, guys, it would make a huge difference, and we appreciate it more than you know. All right, back to the show.
My mom said my favorite one is when she came up and must have been saying something, and she said, like, is everything okay? And I said, I'm holding on to my stuffed bear Paddington. I'm like, Paddington's too close to the wall. Bam! And I just slam him against the wall. If I were my mom, I would have been dying.
Yeah,
it's too close to the wall. Bam!
Yeah. Goodness. So when all of this is happening, what's going on in dream? Well, like we said, your brain is basically awake. The REM sleep, the rapid eye movement, is when the dreaming magic basically always happens. And here's the weird part. Your brain waves during REM look almost identical, like Laura said, whenever you're awake. EEG scans show high frequency, low amplitude activity, just like when you're solving problems or scrolling through memes on the internet. That's why dreams can feel super, super real, even though your body is in full lockdown mode. So your brain's basically throwing a party and your muscles just are like, absolutely don't.
It's just amazing that your brain does it. Like, it's, you know what? We need to work through some stuff. I'm playing this one. Because for sure, your waking states influence your dreams.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I'll get into that in a second, too. So what else is happening and going on up there in your brain? Your inner logic is basically on vacation. So during REM, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic, decision-making, and impulse control, goes offline, just completely offline. And that's why your dreams are allowed to be just straight up nonsense. And your dream self doesn't bat an eye at anything really that's going on. Oh, I'm flying to school in a bagel with a dolphin. Like that
would be crazy. Do you find anything about what happens for people? So it's not all the time, but I do lucid dream sometimes where I realize I'm dreaming.
Lucid dream.
Yeah.
I'm a hardcore. I didn't get into that because that's like that's oddly enough what I was finding was highly debated. There are some scientists that are like, no, you cannot lucid dream. So if you guys don't know what lucid dreaming is, it's whenever you're aware that you're dreaming in a dream and you can control it. I have always been the kid that could remember dreams. Like I would wake up, boom, I remember my dreams, like constantly and consistently. And then whenever I got to college, And I started researching. We were in some psych class, I forget. And I was like, oh, we mentioned something about lucid dreaming. I was like, oh, that's kind of like what I do. And I started doing, deep dive, thank you, ADHD, into it. And there's ways that you can help yourself lucid dream. And I was like, well, let's give these a shot. And ever since then, 90% of the time, if I want to, I can control I'm in the dream and like, all right, cool, I'm dreaming. Let's go here. And my brain, how my brain works is it's consistently a map. So whenever you have those dreams where you're going back to your high school, it's similar to my high school, but not the same. But I go back to it often enough. There's like a whole map in my head.
Yeah,
so whenever
it's like a Sherlock Holmes. What does he have? He's got the mind map thing where he can.
Yeah, the mind map. Where so you know where everything is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's like basically like a city, because I can go to a theme park and I know where the theme park is. I can be running from something that's trying to get to me, and I'm like, oh, if I just go around this corner, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm making like aware of, okay, cool, I'm dreaming and I can do this and this. Yeah. And I can change it. So it's not, because normally whenever you're dreaming, you don't really have that conscious control over it. Yes, you might be quote unquote making decisions and things whenever you're sleeping, but oh, okay, cool, I'm sleeping. I don't want to be here and I don't want to be chased. Why don't I just go over there and I can lose these guys? Like, I'm making conscious decisions when I'm sleeping to alter the outcome of it.
Mine has been, usually it's something really terrible happens in a dream, like horrific, like I run somebody over with a car. I mean, that stuff happens. And then I'll be like, this is terrible. My life is over. I hope this is a dream. And then I stop in my dream and I try and remember the last thing. And I was like, wait, this is a dream. And then I wake up. My brain is like, like.
Yeah, so I
can't control it really. But I will throw myself out of it, which is great because they're always terrible. The only time is I have woken up during good dreams, and then I'm like, I need to go right back to sleep. I need to go right back to sleep and continue this, and I have done that.
Yeah, yeah, and I've done that too, but I don't know. I think it's because I have such like that mind map made out. I don't know, because I am in a dream, and I'm okay, cool, like. I can do all the crazy stuff. I'm very aware the repercussions of anything when I'm dreaming are not the same in the real world.
Yeah.
So it is pretty cool. It is a lot of fun. And again, it's like probably 90% of the time. It has to be something where yours is pretty, like something traumatic has to happen. For me, it's something unusual has to happen. And then I'm like, oh, I'm dreaming. Duh. Yeah, right. And that's what
it's literally like Inception. Yeah. Where you see this top and you're like, that's not.
That's not right. I'm dreaming
glitching
now.
out.
And I'm always carrying weapons. Like I am always carrying weapons.
I have a common theme of moving very slowly.
Oh, interesting.
Which, I mean, is definitely some brain thing where you're like, either I can feel the paralysis slightly, or I can't move forward in life or something. I don't like.
Interesting. Because I'm the opposite. I'm always going super fast. Let's just say whatever's chasing me or whatever. I'm like, oh, I can outrun this. I can Spider-Man and like jumps from
I have done that one time where like gravity wasn't really a thing very much.
Yeah. Yeah. So besides your brain basically being awake, the inner logic is just gone.
For most people. Apparently.
For most people. Yeah. Your emotions are cranked up. The amygdala, your brain's emotional command center, is super active during REM. This is why your dreams are often packed with high stakes drama, late for a test, being chased, like we just said, falling in love with a stranger and whatever. Like all that stuff is because you're emotional. It's way, way, way more awake than what it is on your day to day. And your memory is doing some pretty weird things during it. So the hippocampus, your brain's memory wrangler, is working really hard in the REM sleep stage. But not like it normally does. Instead of organizing your memories in a neat filing cabinet like it normally should, it's mashing together recent stuff, old stuff, random thoughts, subconscious material into just one chaotic storyline.
Yeah, makes sense. It just dumps it.
And so that's why oftentimes a lot of people, they have that dream where they're back in high school and they have to repeat a class or whatever.
That's definitely like a classic one for me is that I don't have my schedule. For either high school or college. I'm missing the schedule.
Or that I forgot my locker combination. But again, because I lucid dream, I'll be like, oh, I forgot my locker combination. And oddly enough, that normally triggers me. And I'm like, oh my God, I did it. I do this all the time. And I just go up and like, beep, 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 fully aware I don't know what it is, and I'm like, opens every time because I'm aware enough that I'm always gonna forget my locker combination, but it doesn't matter because no matter what I put in, it's gonna open it anyway, kind of thing. So all of that, just of what's going on, is just the jumble thing. That's what gives us all those weird timelines. But dreaming isn't necessarily just weird entertainment. As much fun as like I like to have with it, it actually does some important things. And just like Laura was saying earlier, the purpose of dreams is just as debated as what the purpose of sleep is, which is odd because you would think that, I know it's the human brain and everything with the human brain is highly debated, but again, you would think stuff like this is okay, no, cool, that makes sense, but nope, people have all kinds of arguments over this. So some of the big ones that people think,
the cultural implications of such, like we have tried to figure this crap out since we were cave people.
Yes, very much. So one of the reasons why we think we're dreaming is emotional processing. Your brain is your therapist, just a lot weirder, essentially. So REM sleep, again, is emotional spring cleaning in a way. Our brain pulls up stressful or emotional stuff, like the weird, intense conversations with your boss or that high school situation. And it kind of helps you work through it sometimes in a little bit of a, I don't know, you might not have control of it, but at the same time you do. And so it just helps you process it a little bit, even if you're not as consciously
your safe
aware
space.
of it. Yeah, exactly. And it helps you work through it in a little bit more creative ways than what you're used to. Another reason why we think we dream is memory consolidation. Your brain is filing the important stuff away whenever you're snoozing. So dreaming is when your brain takes new memories and decides where to file them. Keep, toss, combine with something else. So your hippocampus, again, like I said, your memory manager, is busy linking what you just learned with older stuff you've already stored. So even though things to us don't make sense because it's so weird, it's because your brain, for lack of a better term, you guys have all hopefully have seen the movie Inside Out from Disney.
Yeah.
How there's the sleep and there's the projector going on, but then there's all the people working back there filing all the balls and stuff like that. It's essentially that is what this is, what this one school of thought is yes, there's the movie going on up here, but it's all weird because there's all the things moving around in the back of your brain as organizing it and filing it. So there's also, they think it's creative problem solving, which is a smart exercise for your brain to go through. Your dream brain is kind of like chaotic genius friend.
People's decisions are influenced by their dreams sometimes.
Oh, definitely.
Like, listen,
definitely.
It worked out this way. I think it's going to work out in real life.
Yeah, exactly. So your dreaming brain isn't bound by logic, like we said, which means it can mix and match ideas in totally new ways. It's like your brain is just throwing a bizarre brainstorming session at 2 a.m., but without your permission. And that's why some people wake up with new ideas, inventions, storylines. I've had some of my best breakthroughs. I wake up at 2 a.m. I'm like, I got to write this down. Yeah. Some of it then it doesn't make any sense. I'll wake up at 2 a.m. and I'm like, this is amazing. This totally makes sense. And then I read it in the morning. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all. But sometimes some of my best ideas my whole career have come from just literally wake up in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh, I got to write this down, or I got to type it out on my phone and stuff. And the fourth reason, and I'm going to talk about, let's see here, 2 more here, is cognitive reframing. It's emotional test runs, but with less pressure. So let's say you're anxious about a big conversation, a breakup, stressful event. Your brain may take that, kind of repackage it into a symbolic dream. That's whenever people are like, if you come across a whale in your dream, it means X, Y, Z. Because sometimes like your brain does that, or like all your teeth falling out. Like everybody has almost had that dream where they're
horrible.
Yeah. And so so the cognitive reframing is like it takes something that you're going through, shifts its perspective a little bit to help you process things from a different angle, but safely.
Yeah.
And so your brain's like, hey, let's just practice out this fear, but in a world that's safe. And you know that for the most part, you're safe. So the last one is neural cleanup, where just your brain is taking out the trash while you're drooling. So during REM, your brain isn't just artsy, emotional, crazy chaos. It's also scrubbing itself clean. It flushes out anything old, doesn't need the waste products.
Yeah, I was saying it clears out the toxins in my...
Yep. And it strengthens all those important neural connections. And dreaming has a lot to do with that because your brain is awake. And again, like we said, like even though it's like the movie projector is going on, it's that all needs to happen so that everything behind the scenes can go on. So yeah, so dreams can definitely be weird, but they're also very, very useful, even if a lot of people don't remember most of them. If you want to know how to lucid dream, the trick that I used, which worked, which a lot of people you'll read and be like, that's not going to work, totally worked for me. You drink a crap ton of apple juice, like fresh, as pure as can be apple juice, because there is a thing, hold on, what in apple juice? There's a compound in apples. You just could not eat that many apples to get it. Okay, I know there's no scientific evidence to prove it. Some speculate that apple juice may increase the acetylcholine levels, which is a neurotransmitter involved in memory and sleep. Again, there's no proven link behind it. The other school of thought of this is, okay, if you drink a ton of anything, like a ton of water or whatever before you go to bed, you're more likely, because you're most awake at that REM, you're gonna have to go to the bathroom and you're gonna wake yourself up. So you're more likely to wake up to a very conscious. Because normally, if you quote unquote wake up after REM, you're not fully awake. But if you drink a lot of water, or in this case, they said apple juice. I tried apple juice because I was like, well, why not? And that seemed to work for me. So I did that several nights in a row, to the point where, I don't know, it was maybe like a week later where I was like, I'm dreaming. And then I don't know what happened. That just triggered it in my brain that was like, cool, we can dream now and we can control all of this.
I think it's so interested, I can remember dreams from literally childhood.
Like, me too.
I don't forget a lot of dreams.
Yeah. And again, for me, it's all in the same world. So if I go to those dreams from childhood, because I have this really weird dream about this steak and I'm like in ancient Egypt. Don't know.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I'm like, oh, okay, I know that this is around the corner from this. I just have to travel a little bit farther to get there. So all the dreams, even in my childhood, are connected to the ones now. I should be studied.
I know, yeah. I think dreams are so fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't dream as much as I used to because I get woken up too much to be in REM for very much.
Damn it, kids.
Yeah. But I don't go through all my cycles. And speaking of not getting enough sleep, I'm going to talk about sleep deprivation. So I wanted to talk about real quick 2 things, which is sleep deprivation and sleep deficiency. Okay. Sleep deficiency is just you're not getting enough sleep. The first thing is sleep deprivation. That's like the more common term. Okay. Sleep deficiency is when you have one or more of the following. Sleep deficiency and sleep deprivation can be used interchangeably in that case. Or sleep deficiency can also include sleeping at the wrong time of day, not sleeping well, or having a sleep disorder. So sometimes used interchangeably, but technically different. All right, so sleep deprivation, where you don't get enough sleep. Everybody out there listening is like, preach. At least here in America, we're notorious for sleep deprivation. So I have the 5, because I wanted to, we all know what it's like to not get enough sleep, right? You feel tired, you feel mental fog, you're yawning a lot, that kind of stuff. But I'm talking serious sleep deprivation. So there are 5 stages of acute deprivation. Stage 1, 24 hours with no sleep. It is the same as having a blood alcohol level of 0.1, which is higher than the legal limit. All right. So if you go 24, if you have an all-nighter with your friends, like I used to do in high school, basically are drunk driving the next day. Stage 2, 36 hours of no sleep. You feel more pressure to sleep. You have increased appetite, which is kind of interesting. Microsleeps may occur, which means when you might be asleep, but you don't know you're asleep, and it only lasts for a few seconds at a time.
Yeah. Have you ever seen those ultra trail runners that they do a couple 100 miles? They literally are dozing, sleeping as they're moving. It's insane.
It's insane. Yeah. And at 36 hours of no sleep, you actually can start hallucinating. 48 hours of no sleep, stage 3. More microsleeps. You start to depersonalize. So you don't feel like you anymore. It's disconnected.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Bad anxiety, temporal distortion, so not knowing time is weird, and perceptual distortions. So basically everything is like 48 hours. Okay, stage 4 is 72 hours of no sleep.
Yeah.
Longer microsleeps, complex hallucinations. This is where stuff starts getting crazy. Delusions and disordered thinking. And then finally is stage 5, which is 96 hours of no sleep. It's the same symptoms as acute psychosis. You've gone crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, you're not dead, but you're crazy.
Yeah.
So some real bad stuff. The CDC states that 1 in 3 U.S. adults claim to not get enough sleep.
I mean, that's not even shocking. Yeah.
No. And 50 to 70 million Americans have a sleep disorder. We live, particularly in America, in a society that is constantly go, 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 go. We don't take naps as much as I wish that we did. We don't take naps. We believe in, for sure, a 40-hour work week. The lights are always on somewhere. There's a shift going on it is just nonstop. So people feel like they don't have time. Plus, we can't afford to live unless you work a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what does just regular old sleep deprivation symptoms look like? Sometimes they look different in children than adults. And any of you out there who have children, you're like, yeah. Because for kids, of course, it can't pay attention. But ironically, it becomes overly active, right? Yeah. When a kid is tired, they go crazy.
Drugs crazy.
Walls. Yeah, like just really hyper for a little bit, and then it's like in Monsters Inc. with Boo.
Yes,
and she's like, ha, crash, and they will behave inappropriately. It's one of your things. If your kid is not acting
normal,
if they're acting out, could be they're tired.
Yeah, yeah.
But in adults, it's fatigue, difficulty concentrating, headache, muscle aches, slow reaction time, irritability, poor decision-making, hallucinations and delusions, and an increased appetite for sweets and carbs.
Interesting.
Yeah, so what are the health issues? Okay, sure, I'm tired, but what's the problem with that? Serious problems, people. There's a far increased chance, a much higher rate of personal injury when you're tired, right? Like you're not coordinated or whatever it is. There is a 48% increase in the risk of heart disease because your poor heart is never getting a freaking break. Kidney disease, high blood pressure. You're at 3 times the risk for developing type 2 diabetes. You're at a 50% higher risk of obesity if you get less than 5 hours a night. And the obesity and the diabetes and the heart disease can all be linked back to this, which is you have higher levels of hunger hormones with sleep deprivation and lower levels of appetite suppressing hormones. So when you sleep, your hormones regulate themselves. Everything, like I said, it's like a reset. If you don't reset, those hormones didn't work. And so not only is your appetite not suppressed, your hunger is increased. So you're going to be eating more in the daytime.
Yeah.
And then your body's not having a chance to do other things. There's actually a link to 33% increased risk of dementia, which is enough to scare me into getting more sleep. It ages your brain about 3 to 5 years, like when all is said and done. Of course, increased risk of stroke, increased inflammation, the root of all evil. 30% risk increased for colorectal cancer.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I wonder, I'm sure it's all, again, but here we are back again at gut health. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like controlling all things. But I guess if something is going on with sleep and your gut.
Yeah, interesting.
You decreased and it finally decreased immunity because it's trying to regulate itself while you sleep. And then, of course, all the mental health problems. Depression, anxiety, forgetfulness, irritability, mental fog, all of those things. So it is bad stuff, people. You don't get sleep and it is going to take a toll on your entire body.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it can kill you. It might just take a while. Like, it's not instant, but it will kill you in the long run. If you're suffering from sleep deprivation, the amount of sleep changes as you age. Babies need up to 18 hours, while most adults need 7 to 9. You said you're like a good 7. I'm definitely more of an 8 to 9. So if you're not getting that, people, you're not.
If I can fully function for, again, outlying the insomnia spells that I get, I can adequately function for probably at least 2 to 3 nights easily as long as I get 4 hours. 4 hours is my minimum and I'm okay, cool. And I can get up and I can do everything I need to do the next day.
Yeah.
7 is perfect for me. Anything more, then I'm dragging and I'm tired.
If I get
I'm
less than
too
6,
tired.
I am not I'm like barely functional.
Yeah, see, for me, it's 4. As long as I can get a solid 4 hours of sleep, then I'm good. Now, that's not my insomnia where I'm just like, again, as little as 40 minutes and max is 4 hours.
Yeah.
Then after that, my biggest streak was 54 nights. And I was like, I have to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was just, that's whenever it was getting bad. So.
Well, and what's the worst that can happen, or how long have people gone without sleep? So real quick, longest on record. There are 2 people that I just wanted to cover because it is kind of debated. So Guinness Book of World Records used to keep track of this until 1997. And then they said, no more.
Yeah,
nobody should be trying to do this. Right.
Yeah.
Guinness World Records was like, this is too dangerous for people to try.
Yeah, because it's like, who can hold their hand in the fire the longest? Like, it's not healthy. It's not a good idea.
Yes.
I mean,
nobody should be trying. But so there are still people that claim past these people I'm about to talk about, modern day people who are like, I'm doing it. But we don't know. The most publicized person ever, and the most well-documented case of sleep deprivation was Randy Gardner, who was 17 years old. Thankfully, his body was at least young.
He's at least a teen, yeah.
He, along with 2 friends, wanted to do a sleep deprivation study for the science fair. Freaking nerds. In a good way, guys. I'm proud of you, but like, wow.
Yeah.
So they basically drew straws, and Randy lost. So he had to stay up while his friends monitored and helped a little bit with solidarity.
Yeah.
So it started on December 28th in 1963.
So Christmas break.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It got picked up by the news after a few days because after a few days, everyone was like, I can't believe this dude's still awake.
Yeah.
And then it was picked up in the media, and then it came to the attention of a Stanford sleep researcher and a Navy medic, both of who were like, we're coming. We're watching this because normally you can't do this to people, right? This had to be self-inflicted because they can't research people by making them other than torture.
Yes.
So the Navy medic and the Stanford sleep researcher, he broke after 11 days, which was 264 hours of no sleep.
Oh my God.
They described him, besides the fact that he was going crazy, his body itself, after all the tests that they did, they said his body was perfectly healthy. Who knows long-term, dude?
Yeah,
later he probably, I think I read later that he did have problems with insomnia.
What's his name?
Randy Gardner. I looked up and he did say he had bouts later with insomnia, but who knows?
He's 78.
Yep, still going. And so he finally passed out, and they took him to the hospital to make sure he was okay, and he slept for 14 hours, which actually doesn't seem like that much, having gone for 264 hours without sleep. I'd be out for days. And then the person who broke his record, but is not well recorded, this was like a thing. Robert McDonald, who was 27 years old, he was a professional stuntman. He was like, let's do it. So in 1986, he went for 18 days, 21 hours, and 40 minutes. Which is insane. Insane.
Jeez.
So sleep deprivation's bad, guys. Don't do it. Get some sleep.
Yeah, so it says here, I was just looking up like Randy Gardner. Now again, how do you know what he went through later on in life is linked back to this or not? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah, causation and correlation, we don't know.
Yes, exactly. So, but he did say, it looks like in 2017, Gardner told NPR that he started experiencing serious insomnia around 2007. And he believed that his participation in the 1960s of depriving himself of sleep was the cause of it. He said that he would describe his insomnia as completely unbearable, and he would lay in bed for 4, 5, 6 hours, sleep maybe 15 minutes, and wake up again, which is like my insomnia spells. It's definitely no fun, but they did say that he clinically developed insomnia as an adult. And that was, it looks like about, let's see here, 2017. So, I mean, he was,
in his like
that
60s,
was in
70s?
the study.
Yeah.
Or sorry, the study was what, in the 60s?
Yeah. He was 17 and 63, so he is.
Yeah, so he was older, and which again, it's okay. How much of that is insomnia? How much of that is related to a bajillion other things?
Right.
So, if you want to not follow in Randy Gardner's footsteps, maybe. Some tips and tricks for better sleep. And so again, I know that these things are true. Do I do them?
Well, right.
I attempt to, but because I know my sleep. But again, part of that's just my brain, my body, ADHD meds. It's a stimulant. I'm a mom. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
right there, you do what you can. Although, I tell you what, if they built a siesta hour into work, I'd be 100% on board.
Right? I mean, Luke alone, if I have him on the nights I have him, if he sneaks into bed, I'm kicked the rest of the night. That's lack of sleep. So, but the tips, create a consistent sleep schedule. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, even on weekends, is very important. So consistency helps regulate your body's internal clock, making it easier to fall asleep and wake up naturally. A regular sleep schedule improves the quality of REM sleep, which is essential for memory consolidation and emotional regulation, which this is one of the biggest arguments against the whole time change thing. I am 100% somebody who prefers and needs to sleep with the blinds open.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't have those blackout blinds. I'm a morning person. I'm normally up at 4 a.m. That's just when I set my alarm because I have crap to get done, workout and everything. But if I quote unquote sleep in, that the first sign of light, I'm up, I'm awake. And that's when I feel best. If it's the sun that is waking me up, that's when I feel best. Camping and stuff like that, always feel the best. Create a sleep-inducing environment. Make your bedroom peaceful. I don't have a TV in my bedroom. I haven't for a while. Since I've been divorced, I haven't had a TV in my bedroom. I'm somebody who does need, because I have tinnitus in my ear, probably from my insomnia. So I do need some noise, or else I just hear ringing all night. But so make your bedroom quiet, peaceful. They do say that dimming lighting, comfortable bedding, of course, cooler temperatures, that you sleep a lot better whenever your body's cooler. And a lot of these are saying like, no noise at all. And that's important.
Which is interesting. I have to go to sleep with, I don't know. I just can't, my brain, it doesn't want to shut off.
Yeah, mine doesn't either.
But,
yeah.
And so if I have no noise or even just background noise, I'll think of other things.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop.
I have to listen to an audiobook. I must.
Yeah.
If I don't listen to a story.
Yeah. Luke listens to Honeybee Bedtime Stories. Shout out to Honeybee Bedtime Stories.
Something.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be interesting. It just has to keep my brain half occupied so that the other half can be like, okay, we're going to sleep now.
Exactly. Yeah. And Luke, he'll listen to those. And then once I can tell he's out, I'll go in and I'll actually switch it to just music. Yeah.
Like I put on like a 15-minute timer, and usually that's good for me, but I need something.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like you said, to wind your brain down. Limit screen time before bed. Avoid screens, phones, computers, TVs at least 30 to 60 minutes before going to sleep. And that's because, again, the blue light that's emitted from screens suppresses the production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep. Melatonin just jack squat for me.
Well, it does the exact. There's a huge risk to using melatonin, because if you don't fall asleep quickly after taking melatonin, it will do the opposite.
Yes.
So a lot of parents, a lot of people are giving their kids melatonin these days, and it can be the exact opposite.
You can only and should only use melatonin for a short period of time.
Yeah,
it
shouldn't not be a permanent solution.
Yeah, it's not a permanent solution. So you have to figure out something else. Melatonin it doesn't do any. It never
Justin
has.
does it occasionally, but it'll put him out for, if he doesn't get a full night's sleep, he'll be so drowsy in the morning.
Yeah. Watch what you eat and drink. Avoid really heavy meals, caffeine, alcohol, and large amounts of fluids close to bedtime. And that's because obviously caffeine and alcohol can disrupt the sleep cycle. I don't know. I've got some of my best nights of sleep when I've been out with friends and you have like bunches of laughter, some drinks and stuff, and you tire yourself out.
Yeah, it has to be a fine line, because too much alcohol, and I've definitely woken up from it. Because I woke in bad ways, either nausea or shaking, like actually shaking.
Maybe it's just me, because when I drink, and again, I don't get completely trashed. One, I'm 36, but two, I just don't. And then maybe it's the sugar in my ADHD, but I am definitely get energized.
Yeah.
So I normally am typically the life of the party, whatever. But because of that, I guess like a little kid. I work myself up so much that by the time I'm home, I'm like,
Just
okay, let's
crash.
go to bed.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I crash. Next one, relax before bed. Typically I do engage in relaxing activities like reading, meditation, e-readers, not pushing for Kindles, but like I have a Kindle that's not blue
Right. If
light.
you have the backlit. Perfect. Yeah. Like, it's
Yeah.
not
And
the
so
blue
Kindles are
light.
great for reading. Any kind of other relaxation techniques that can lower your heart rate and calm your mind, signaling in your body that it's time to wind down. Exercising regularly, but not too close to going to bed. That's why I wake up and I exercise typically first thing in the morning. For me, I love getting up early. That's why I get up at 4 a.m. and I go work out. Because for me, my brain is not awake enough to fight myself. And it's work. So I'm up at 4 a.m., tiredly getting everything, go to the gym. And I can't argue with myself that early. So I just do it and I get it done with. Limit naps during the day, manage stress and anxiety, consider professional help if you do need it. I've talked to my therapist doctor. And unfortunately, in America, a lot of the culture from the doctors, not mine, but previous doctors that I've seen and psychiatrists and stuff have been like, well, try sleeping pills. Because I'm like, yeah, melatonin doesn't work. And they're like, well,
Take a
sleeping
Xanax
pills.
or
I'm
whatever.
like,
yeah.
and I'm like, nope, don't. And I've never taken them because I don't want to get, because then again, then it has negative repercussions of, you can get hooked to them. But if you do start to get to a point where you aren't somebody, this has been me my whole life. My whole life, I've never gotten good sleep. So this is normal for me. Is it healthy? No, but it's normal. But if you're someone who you're all of a sudden you're not getting good sleep and you're like, this isn't like me, then definitely talk to your doctor because something else could be.
Yeah, if
could
I'm
definitely be
like
going on.
after a 54-day stint like you, I'd give you a horse. I'd be like, Katy, you have to have a horse tranquilizer. Something you have to get some sleep.
So yeah.
Well, on that note, I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, Laura's ready for bed. And I need to get my eyes away from the blue light.
Yeah.
So we do have more Cosmic Critters coming out, and we're getting close to the end of the season here. But again, like we had the last season break, we're still doing the mini-sodes. So we'll figure out what we're doing. We'll let you guys know for that one because we haven't figured it out yet. But yeah, make sure you guys go check us out on Patreon. At some point during this episode, hopefully you heard a little, I don't know, mid-episode break talking about the tragedy of our YouTube. So I'm just going to put... Dude, I was
the great YouTube tragedy of 2025.
Listen, I've been so frustrated. So if you guys could please, for the love of God, go subscribe to that because I've had to build that back up and that was such a pain in the butt. But please go subscribe to that because that'll help. You also get to see the full videos of Laura and I, our faces and laughing and stuff. And so, of course, that's way more fun to see our faces and stuff. As much as, it helps with the downloads, listening to some podcasts. Love for you guys to go check us out on YouTube. And I also post short little reels and snippets of all the shows, which we've talked about before. Way funnier when you have no context whatsoever. So please go subscribe. Yeah, and then leave us a great review and check out Patreon and stuff too. So until next week, guys.
Bye, everybody.